Um, I'm here with Bennett Young, who is one of our faculty members at KMS, and he teaches piano, guitar, ukulele, bass, and he's also the director of our players and creators groups in the Performing Artists program. So thanks for being here, Bennett.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on what we're working on this week at KMS, which is looking at the basic principles of creativity. You are a super creative guy, and you are a songwriter, uh, arranger, recording engineer, composer. I don't know what you don't do, but I'm sure you have some great thoughts on creativity. So the basic principles are in Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way.
Mhm.
And there are things like life is pure creative energy. There's an indwelling force inside of all of us that's creative, including me or you. Being creative is part of being human. It is safe for me to grow into a more creative person. As I create, it powerfully changes me and those around me. And my creative dreams and ideas are important for my own life, and they're also a gift to others. So, which of those sticks out to you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those resonate with me to different levels. I do think that humans are just innately creative. Like, it's just something that we have. And I think some people don't even realize it because maybe certain things that you don't think of as creative acts really are or could be if approached that way. So, like, think of any daily little problem that you have to solve, right? Whether it's just a minor, like, how am I going to get the kids to school and then back in time for yada yada, like all that kind of stuff. Like those, every little problem that we face is an opportunity for a creative solution. And I think that humans just work a lot better and have much fuller lives if we look at life as just this unending, well, not unending certainly, but this daily opportunity to create new ideas and new problems to or new solutions to problems. So yeah, I think I don't know if I'm quite you know that very first tenet of what is it, humans are pure creative spirit. Is that what
Um,
it is, something like
well,
that?
there's life is pure creative energy, and there's an
Okay,
indwelling creative force inside all of us.
there you go. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we could get beyond just humans too and talk about life being creative energy, and you don't have to look too hard to see that. There's just like everywhere you look there's nature, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
So
some,
you're, sorry.
I don't know, what were you gonna
So you're really into making sure that that definition of creativity goes well outside of artistic pursuits.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't have to be an artist or a musician to be creative. I think just like the things people talk about every day are like planning out your lives, planning out what you're going to do with your time. It all requires creativity of some kind.
Yeah.
And if you don't engage that, you might just find yourself kind of in this circumstance that you didn't actually choose for yourself, and not really
Yeah.
realize why you're there. A lot of people, I think, over the pandemic and stuff, have had these big life revelations where they're like, oh, why have we been doing it like this for so long? And why not engage a little bit of creativity and see if there's maybe some other way to do basic everyday things. I think that's
Yeah.
good, that's healthy.
I agree. And, sometimes for my own self, I like to remind myself that I'm even creating my, like I'm choosing my thoughts. Most of the time I get that there's unconscious creation and there's conscious creation. And I try to be as conscious as I can, but, sometimes I'm really in a rut and I'm like, okay, can I create a different experience for myself? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, but that possibility is there.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, creativity is like the main way, I think, for getting out of a rut. Or I think if you find yourself in a rut, it's probably because you haven't been flexing the creative muscles as much as you should or something like that. It just happens. It happens to me. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what else on here, what else do you think, what do you think about it is safe for me to grow into a more creative person?
Yeah. That's an important one, I think, like to be able to, convince yourself of that, because so much of, at least in the arts, especially like being creative, like does involve a lot of vulnerability. And, if you're specifically talking about like music and stuff, you're usually, you're very heavily involved in processing emotions that might be difficult and stuff like that. It's not super comfortable to do for most people automatically, and it takes a little bit of affirmation to feel that it is okay. And there's also a lot of voices that will kind of tell you that it's not, that if you're not fitting the mold, or if you're kind of doing something outside the box that's quote unquote wrong, there are a lot of people who will let you know what they think. And you do have to sort of remind yourself that it's no, it's okay. Actually, this is fine for me to be expressing myself and taking up some space and making some noise, because everybody's perspective is valid. And so you have to trust that your own like inner voice and your creativity is just as valuable as anyone else's.
Absolutely. Is that how you, like, you've built a very creative life for yourself? How did you give yourself permission to get to the life that you have now?
I had to. It basically, I just went to with my gut. I tried out a bunch of different things. I've worked a lot of different jobs and had a lot of different kinds of life experiences, um, and ultimately just kind of kept coming back to music. So rather than, what I was doing for maybe the first 10 years or so of my professional career was saying, well, music is just this thing that I can't stop doing. So I'm going to do it in my free time, but it doesn't pay the bills. So I'm going to do some other job to do that. And I just separate the two. And I thought that that would work for a while, but it also felt like I was just, you know, um, kind of stifling part of myself in order to fit into a pre existing mold. And I wasn't happy,
Yeah.
really. And so, at a certain point, you know it was kind of like the last straw, at my old job, where they were just, it was too much overtime, it's just too much, and I was not getting enough back. And I just said, forget it, I'm out. And it was just, and it was also a matter of talking to my wife about it, talking to other support people in my life, and just like getting some encouragement that like we're going to be okay if I make this decision to
Yeah.
kind of leave the security of a kind of a more stable job and then try to make a living as a creative person, doing like a million different part-time jobs basically.
Yeah.
And it's been stressful, but in the end it's, I feel more like myself, which
Oh, yeah, that resonates with
yeah.
me very deeply. And
Hmm.
that's, part of tangentially why I started the school with Benji, is because we needed a way to to feel as ourselves, like,
Yeah.
um, and that's really priceless, I think. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
so a
Yeah.
lot of my creativity goes through the school at this point. Um,
Hmm.
in addition to playing music, which I hope to get back to someday soon. Um,
Hmm.
when do you feel most creative, like as a person?
Mm. Probably when I'm writing a new song. you know if I get a new song going and it feels good, that feels like very like animating to me, and
Yeah.
kind of like flips on my lights, and it feels like, okay, this is good, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's always really exciting.
Yeah, I have that same experience. And
Hmm.
in the artist's way, Julia Cameron talks about spiritual electricity, or that
Hmm.
you're somehow like communing. Would you describe it that way, your experience, or would you have different way to explain it?
I don't know, I think, a lot of people talk about creativity sometimes being as something that you're not fully in control of yourself. So it's like you're tapping into some kind of creative force, or some type of like collective unconscious, or however you want to frame it. I don't usually think about that when I'm writing a song. I kind of just do it as like um, it's like usually I do it as a work exercise. I'll be like, okay, I need a song idea. and then I'll go through and try these different ideas. And then if something really clicks, that's when it's like, oh, okay, now it's on. And I don't know what that is. I don't know where that comes from exactly. It's
Yeah,
not just for me because I can't just summon it, out of thin
right.
air. But yeah, I think there's something there, whatever you want to call it, creative spirit, creative electricity. I don't know. I think a lot of it is just our subconscious kind of leaking into our consciousness, kind of.
Right, telling us things we need to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, one of my friends who is like a creativity lecturer, he always started his things off saying, "Hey, being creative is just like putting on your underwear in the morning. Like it's that basic, and it's not a lot of bells and whistles." So I think it's kind of cool that, kind of both work together. There's just like
Yeah,
showing up. I know I'm creative. I can trust that I can do this. And then there's also like this sort of mystery aspect to it as well.
yeah, yeah, definitely. One of the metaphors I like is David Lynch, a filmmaker and artist. He talks about, creativity is kind of like going out fishing, and the ideas are the different fish out there. And, you can go out there and get a little fish and say, oh, okay, that's not quite ready yet, and toss it back. Um, and then maybe go out into the deeper waters, and find something that's a little bit more elusive, but might also be a lot more significant and might kind of light that creative spark for you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When do you sort of decide if your creative work has been successful or not, or do you kind of just you don't worry about assigning that value to it?
Hmm, that's a big one.
Well, certainly
Assigning value to it. Yeah.
the world sets up, here's how we value things, but I'm just curious for you as a person.
Yeah, because I wanted to get to this too and tie it into that last tenant that we mentioned about how your creativity is a gift to others. And that is a tricky one, because I don't know about you, but I don't usually work for free all the time. Uh, I don't, it's like, yes, it is a gift, but at the same time, we live in a society that commodifies everything.
Right.
That's just the nature of, our reality. So um, maybe it's a gift, but it's, you would hope that one who appreciates the gift will offer a reciprocal gift, and that's usually currency, right? Or attending a show, buying a T-shirt, streaming your songs, or whatever it is. Like, um, yeah, it's unfortunate that despite music being so widely consumed and so accessible to everyone, that it's also interesting that people don't really want to pay for it. They just kind of want to have it because we need it. Everybody needs music in their lives, almost just like turning on the lights or something. But you know
Right.
uh but you have to pay for it. I kind of wish there was some way of getting around that, where artists could just create and give their creations out to the world, and um, just be able to do that. But you also, as you well know, and I've been learning over the last couple of years, you also have to be a business owner if you're a creative person, and you have to
Yeah.
market yourself, and you know and shake people down for money when they forget to pay for lessons and things like that.
What? Yeah, I used to say, well, if my music is important, then somehow I will get, remuneration in some form that confirms that so that I'm able to do more. And that hasn't really happened. There were, like 8 people who texted me after my last album, like, I'm crying. This is so amazing. And I'm just like, and also I'm not supported financially to do more of this. And I don't, I'm interested in your answers to that.
Hmm.
Or, if you're like, well,
Yeah.
Ashley, music sucks. So no, just kidding.
No, no, gosh, I mean, it's an interesting but very tricky time right now. Like, I've never made a lot of music or made a lot of money off of my own music, but
Hmm.
I've also never really tried. I've always been in the past I would finish an album or something and just put one post out on my Facebook and say, here you go, with no context or anything, like no plan, no marketing scheme, no release show, nothing, just
Mm,
because wasn't, I had no expectations, because I was in of that mindset that, okay, I go do my legitimate work, and then on the side, if I have enough time, that I can do my music and not rely on it for income. And I'm still not there where I can rely on people listening to my music and coming to
yeah,
shows to support
yeah,
myself. But it can be a piece of the pie. I've got uh, I know there are ways of doing it. I've seen, like colleagues of mine and friends who are putting a lot of energy into learning how to work the social media stuff and how to get on the streaming platforms and booking shows and that kind of stuff. So it can be done. It can be done, but the the routes are not that clearly laid out. I feel like
yeah.
it's just a tricky territory to navigate, I think, right
Yeah,
now.
and they also might intrinsically be at odds with the creative process too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're starting from how can I sell this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, blah blah blah. Anything else you want to share with your with the wider community? It just, I don't know, either encouraging them to be more creative or like how to do that or
Yeah, I would just say, whoever is listening, you are creative. Whether you believe it or not, you are. Every day you make creative decisions. Um, and just try to notice that and lean into it a little bit and see how it goes.
awesome. Cool.